Good evening. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Wendell Board of Commissioners. Thank you all for being here tonight and welcome you to our meeting. We have a real long, packed agenda. It's nice to see such a full house. I know you all can't wait to hear about all the great things we're going to talk about and the great things that are happening in Wendell. We're going to be led tonight in the Pledge of Allegiance by Miss Abby Barrow. Abby, you can come right over here. Abby is a 5th grade student at Lake Myra Elementary School. She enjoys reading and singing ROMP chorus. I'm not sure what that stands for. What does that stand for?
Romp chorus.
What does that mean?
So in romp chorus you get to sing and there's sometimes solos, plus you also get to dance.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for the explanation. Romp chorus and carpool karaoke club, helping out other teachers and volunteering with younger students. Music is currently her favorite class. Abby's outside interests include swimming, music, horses, building with Legos, riding her bike, and spending time with friends and family. She will be attending Wendell Middle School and is looking forward to playing clarinet in the band. Abby has been a leader at Lake Myra Elementary since arriving. She helps with students, staff, and families, and even school board members, and they say you will be missed next year. So we sure are proud of you, and thank you for being here tonight to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Abby. Our invocation tonight is Wendell United Methodist Church. Jim Bailey, how are you? Thank you for being here with us.
It's good to be here, and thank you for all y'all do. Let's bow for a word of prayer. Oh God, as you have anointed leaders in the past, be with our representatives and leaders here in Wendell this day. Be with these men and women who love this community and the people here and who seek to represent them for their common good. We appreciate all the time and effort they make on our behalf. We realize the great responsibility that is theirs in the decisions they make for this town. Give them discernment, O God. Guide them with your Holy Spirit, that they may continue to serve the people of Wendell faithfully and bring real glory to your holy name. Amen.
Thank you very much. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have 2 people signed up for public comment tonight. First, Mr. Hugh Cashin.
Thank you. I just want to make an announcement about the Historical Society meeting, which is this coming Thursday night at the Fellowship Hall at Covenant Presbyterian Church at 7 o'clock. There'll be a program by Steve Brown and Susan Atkinson, The title of the program will be Wendell Rock Quarry, From Rocks to Water to Recreation. So I think it'll be something most people will be interested in. Also, the Historical Society is sponsoring a Jake May Fish Fry. That will be June 16th, same place, Covenant Presbyterian Church in the Fellowship Hall. You can eat in or take it out. Inside diners will be treated to a video as well as an exhibit of memorabilia that will be there from Jake May. Tickets are available from anybody in the Historical Society, including Sid Baines at his place. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. The next person signed up, Tiffany Graham.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Graham, and I'm with the Wendell Appearance Commission.
Can you give us your address? And I may have overlooked that with you as well.
Sorry, it's 315 Commander Drive.
Thank you.
This past Saturday was our 3rd annual Spring into the Arts event, and I'm just here to thank all the citizens and events who participated. despite the record heat. We'd also like to thank the town of Wendell, the staff, the Wendell Appearance Commission, and also to the students of the East Wake Art Honor Society and the Pay It Forward group. They volunteered their time and they helped out tremendously. We also like to thank our long list of sponsors, Centerline Digital, Tim Griffin of Prosperity Home Mortgage, Wine and Beer 101, Broach Custom Signs, Lisa McKenzie of Edward Jones, Universal Chevrolet, Champion Windows, and All American Gutter Protection. Whew. With their donations, we were able to add a couple new items to the event, such as Chalk Artist, Community Art Project, which you probably saw with Throw in the Paint, and the Misting Tent, which was a big hit. I would personally like to thank the sponsors who generously donated to the Children's Art Walk. There's Marbles Museum, Defy Gravity, Triangle Rock Club, 32 Yogurt, Pelican Snowballs, and Chocolates by Whitney. Each entry will be getting a chocolate from Chocolate by Whitney also. We had a total of 45 entries, and the artwork brought a total of $601.51, which breaks down to about $200.50 to each school. Last year, our record was $77 per elementary school, so we did pretty good this year. I also want to extend the invitation to join us to the Wine and Beer 101 for the artist reception and the silent auction on the artists that were out in town. This is a great opportunity to buy their paintings. So that's it.
Thank you. Item number 3 is the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 4 is the recognition of Lake Myra Elementary School teacher Chris Barrow. Chris Barrow is a first grade teacher at Lake Myra Elementary. He's also the father of Abby that we met earlier tonight. He enjoys reading books in character to his students, acting silly with them during rug time, and watching them fist pump with a big yes when they've mastered something new. Outside of school, Chris teaches piano to area students, volunteers with his son's Boy Scout troop, plays trombone in the church orchestra. He also enjoys spending time with family, running off-road cycling, hiking, camping, and kayaking. And he wears boots all the time. And like he has them on right now. There you go. Mr. Barrow became a teacher just a few years ago, and they report that they have watched him grow into an engaging, caring educator who is respected by his colleagues. We just wanted to have you here tonight and thank you for everything that you do for our children in Wendell. Thank you very much for your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Is there anything you want to tell us about Lake Myra Elementary?
I do.
Okay.
So there's 3 things I'd like to leave you with in your meeting tonight. First is a story. My students were working one day, and one student's whispering was heard above everybody else. Looked around the room, couldn't quite make out what was going on. Heard the whispering a second time. This time I zeroed in on the part of the room it was coming from. The third time around, what I heard was not whispering, was, "See, I told you it wasn't going to work." And I looked at my student and said, "Who are you talking to?" And she said, "Oh, I'm talking to the devil on my shoulder." That same student who provides me with no small amount of joy is one of the most intuitive students that I have. And she's a joy to work with. And one of the things that I want to, another thing that I want to leave you guys with is an invitation to come out and join and see what some of those students are doing. That student and other students in my classroom are currently working through Google Classroom, putting together a presentation all about plants on Google Slides. Not only have they researched their particular topic and divided it up into its different sections, but they are writing and illustrating their writing through the technology that's provided. And it's really something to see. Over the weekend, I went backpacking, and the guys I went backpacking with were floored that first graders were able to use the tools provided for them to do a project that they thought was much more on a middle school level. A funny story, an invitation, but also a request, and that is, we really want you to come see our school. I've been involved with Lake Myra since before they had paved the driveway, and the teachers that I get to teach with really believe in education in eastern Wake County. They have dedicated themselves to look past any obstacles that might be perceived from outside our area to provide the very best education possible and to make sure that our students are ready for the workforce in the 21st century. We have our Leadership Day coming up this Friday, where the kids will be showing off not just projects like through Google Slides, like what we were working on this week, but a number of other different projects. We're proud to serve in this community, and we appreciate everything that Wendell has done for us. Come see us either as a proctor for our EOG exams coming up. Come see us so that you can meet my student who provides no small amount of fun stories so that you can read with her, be read to, and come see us also, because the best way that we can really improve teacher working conditions is to show that we're involved in our schools, not just from a teacher standpoint, but not just from a staffing standpoint, but from a community standpoint as well. So thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for this recognition.
Thank you. Thank you again. Item number 5 is a presentation of a plaque honoring Jake May, a class of 2018 inductee into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. We're going to hear from Executive Director Don Fish and Associate Executive Director Bobby Guthrie. Gentlemen.
Thank you. Used to move a lot faster than this. Well, it's an honor for us to be a part of Jake May's induction into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. We learned an awful lot about this great baseball player, and we also learned an awful lot about this town and the people that represent this great town of Wendell. So many of the family members and people that live in this town joined us at the ceremony, both on Thursday night at our reception and again on the Friday night induction banquet. So we were most grateful for the support that we received, and we'd like to present, Mayor, you with this plaque, if you will, on behalf of the Board of Directors and Hall of Fame members, that you can hopefully place someplace here in Town Hall to enjoy. We'll also be providing a larger plaque, as a matter of fact, because these guys made a nice donation to the Historical Society shortly, so they can also have representation of his induction. Just briefly, Bobby and I really consider it an honor to serve the state of North Carolina and to honor great people. But most importantly, we have over the past couple of years been able to take this product and to build a program that has a great impact on young people. It's called our Salute to Student Athletes. We had about 258 youngsters from all across the state attend this year. Last year was about 200. Eventually, we'd like to reach Irving County in the state of North Carolina. But they come to Raleigh on a Friday, have a private reception, go to the banquet. They stay overnight. Saturday morning, they tour the museum, which is a treasure if you haven't been to the North Carolina Museum of History on the 3rd floor. And then they go in for presentations by people like Phil Ford this year from the University of North Carolina, basketball player Jeff Bostic, played football at Clemson, was one of the Washington Redskins players that was part of the Hogs and has 3 Super Bowl rings that he shared with these young people. But it's a great program. We have our inductees participate in a panel. And the reason I mention this is because we don't want to leave the young people in this community out. So the challenge we present before you is that next year, let's have representation with the young people of this community to be a part of our student-athlete program. The other thing is we are going to leave you books back here. I think we've got enough of the program books for everybody here. Inside of that, you'll see the little write-up about the student-athlete program and our golf tournament. Coach Sykes is going to help us with that this year. Of course, he's the great coach from the retired from NC State. We also have a Hall Pass program. We don't want to forget these kids when they go back home, so they can sign up for Hall Pass and have continuing communication with us. And we'll provide them interesting articles and programs that can, again, help educate them towards the history of North Carolina sports and encourage them to become achievers, much like our Hall of Fame members. And it's not just for kids. So tonight you go home and sign up for Hall Pass, get your children and your grandchildren to do the same thing, and we would be very grateful for that. But again, what a great honor it was for us to be a part of honoring Jakey May and to be part of this community for a little while. I told the mayor, you need to build a fence around this because it's one of a kind. And we appreciate so much all you did to support Jake May in the Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you all for everything that you did to help us. We really appreciate it. Item number 6 is a presentation of presentation of utility customer assistance program by Karen Ray, who's the Assistant Director for the City of Raleigh Public Utilities Department. Thank you so much for being here. We're happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. I want to recap real quickly for those who may not have heard of this program before. Back in 2015, we were challenged by one of our citizens to come up with a program to assist low-income citizens with their utility bill. Similar to the federally funded LEAP program, the Low-Income Energy Assistance Program, we wanted to push this effort forward with our council and want to make it available to our partner communities as well. And back in July of 2016, the Raleigh City Council approved $200,000 from the general fund to move into this program. In January of 2017, Wake County Health and Human Services helped us with our first customer. They are actually qualifying the citizens, and then we process everything with the financials on our side. In March of 2017, the Garner Council approved funds, a little over $14,000, and we were able to start serving their customers as well. Last July, our council approved another $200,000, and I'm both proud and a little bit nervous to say that we actually went through $400,000 within 12 months for the Raleigh customers. And then in Garner, they ended up applying a little bit more in this past fall, and we're actually out of funds in Garner as well. In case you are unaware, the public utilities financial funds cannot subsidize utility bills, and that's why it comes out of the general fund. So public utilities does not spend money supporting this initiative, but the councils in both Raleigh and Garner do through their budget. When we originally started the program, we looked at all different needs, and this was one item that we looked at, which this heat map represents numbers of customers who have been disconnected 4 or more times over a 4-year period. And the disconnection of water is really and truly because of non-payment, which we try to avoid at all cost. You can see by the breakdown of the Raleigh program, it was a little slow to get going at first, but once people realized that the funds were available, Wake County really helped us to get the word out to those individuals who were in need, and we moved through the money pretty quickly the second fiscal year. Same thing with Garner, and we were a little bit surprised that we had such a pickup in Garner, but we worked with some of their faith-based organizations in Garner, and they were able to help direct those who were really in need to Wake County. Because it was our first year, we had a few things that we learned along the way, and in talking with our partners in Garner, have had some ideas about how we can improve or expand the program. Because the first year was a success, we would like to make the funds go a little bit further, so we're looking at some ways to do that. We had very minimal repeat customers, meaning those who came in the first fiscal year did not come back in the second fiscal year. So we think that the program, the indication is that the program helps get them past kind of that first period of need. And we have requested the program be expanded with some additional funds from Raleigh, and we're looking at ways of modifying the payment amount. Instead of providing $240 per citizen, we're actually looking to provide up to $240. We also identified that we need to look at whether or not we're assisting citizens who are outside the town limits, since they don't contribute to the tax base, and the tax base is what's supporting this initiative. So that's still to be determined by our council. But one thing that we are doing is looking at those heat maps on a regular basis now, because from looking at those, we can see where the money is going and look to see if there's something that we need to be doing more in that area. And to further assist customers in the future, there's 2 projects that we are working on right now, and we're hoping will be available next calendar year. The first one is Project Share, which is the ability to place a monthly donation amount on your utility bill. And so, for example, if a Wendell customer said, I want to put $5 a month into this program, it would be charged on their utility bill, and that money would then be set aside for Wendell customers who would be in need. Similar process of having Wake County, assess the need and let us know. Those funds would then be able to be applied to those individuals. And in addition, we're looking at implementing budget billing, so very similar to Duke Progress, where you can have an equal bill each month to help those individuals who are on fixed income. I thought I had one more slide, so I might have gone through. A couple of things that I did also want to point out. We have implemented several programs to help reduce the number of disconnections. One of those is email reminders to any citizen that has an email address on their account prior to disconnection to try to prevent that. And the other item is to encourage anyone who needs a payment arrangement. You just need a couple more days to pay your bill. Call us and we'll give you as many payment arrangements as you need as long as you continue to pay. So as long as you continue to pay, you'll avoid disconnection. And for some of our citizens who only get 1 check a month, that payment plan option is really important to them because they can then budget their money a little bit better. We have reduced our disconnection rate to about 0.5%. Wendell's disconnection rate is a little bit higher than the average, but that is our average customer disconnection rate. So if you were so inclined to participate, you can do so at any point in time. We would have an agreement with Wake County Health and Human Services so that they would administer the funds. The funds would stay with your citizens and they would not be used in either Raleigh or Garner. If you were interested, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And if not, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of these things that we're doing within the utility to try to help our customers to be able to keep their water on, because really that's truly what we're there for.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Wright?
I do.
Okay.
This is, and I thank you for your presentation. The program certainly has gotten better over the years. I was less than encouraging the first time I saw it. And I know that there's a consideration given, or the City of Raleigh is looking to give consideration to out-of-town or people in the ETJ. Can you tell me if our ETJ customers were affected by the same billing issue that was between Rollsville and Wake Forest, that community?
Sure. I don't have the list in front of me, but I believe from recollection, and I can confirm this and get it to Wendell staff, that there were several customers in the Wendell area who were impacted, whether that was either positively or negatively, but I can find out the specifics and get that information back to you.
This is more of a comment. Several of those folks reached out to me wanting me to take their side, and unfortunately for them, I can't do that for a variety of reasons. But it brought up another question for me. That billing error was somewhere in the range of $1 million, but they're not going to be charged for it, right? Like, there's not going to be back charging.
The decision was made not to back charge those individuals, and the rough estimate is that it was about $1 million to those homeowners' benefit, and unfortunately to the detriment of the remainder of the citizens in Wake Forest.
Right. So this is where the rubber meets the road for me. Typically, when we start this process, we talk about this being our water system and how we're a merger community and we're all in this together. But we don't have a vote on things like, does it get extended? The other thing that we don't get to do is the financial oversight of making sure that $1 million of what should have been money put back into the system isn't there. While I completely can sympathize, and if I was taking a similar vote, would understand the reality of not wanting to back bill those people, that costs the system money, and if we're all in this system together, that costs the town of Wendell, who, by the way, is still paying really high water rates, in my mind, money. I'd love to hear, and I know this is probably more of a department as a holistic answer. Sure. An explainer on how we lost $1 million and why I shouldn't feel like I just lost X percentage of $1 million into the system.
And I can understand and appreciate that perspective.
And I'm not asking for a response tonight.
No, and that's fine. And I am more than happy to take that back to Robert Massengill, our director, and talk to him. I know that he has offered to any council in any of our service area the opportunity to sit down and talk through any of those questions and explain how we do things and why we do them that way, and get input and feedback and have conversation go both ways. So I'm more than happy to pass that information along.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else? Any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
And can we get a copy of this PowerPoint emailed to us, possibly? Thank you. Thank you. All right, item number 7A is presentation and review of the proposed fiscal year 2018-2019 Town of Wendell budget. And we're going to set a public hearing for Tuesday, May 29th. Ms. Tyner.
Madam Mayor, members of the board, I think that's a very good, important point that you just made there. Typically, our meetings are on Mondays, and due to Memorial Day, it will be, the public hearing is set for Tuesday. And we also have scheduled, and we can talk about this after we go through the process, but whether or not right now we have got it held for a special called meeting on the 29th before our public hearing, and whether or not the board needs that, and we'll take your guidance on that as well. What I do want to say is thank you to the finance department, our department heads, all of our employees for being creative on a regular basis, even when it's non-budget season. It's amazing of what they can do. So what we would like to talk a little bit about is where we are. We do have before you a balanced budget. The proposed budget for the town of Wendell has been prepared in accordance with Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. The budget presents financial information summarized by major categories of expense for each department and outlines the operations of the town. As mandated by state law, the budget is balanced and identifies methods of raising and spending funds for specific programs during the upcoming year. The budget development process focused on providing high-quality services while moving forward, meeting the goals of the town board and our future in a physically responsible manner. The development of the budget was guided by priorities established at our retreat this year through the updating of the town's financial goals and policies and equipment replacement policy as well. Priorities were influenced by the positive economic changes in the area, resulting in increased workloads, desire to maintain the current tax rate, and efficiency and effectiveness through technology. The proposed budget maintains a tax rate at 0.49 or almost 50 cents per 100. Just to let you know, there has not been a tax increase in quite some time. That was made clear by our board during our retreat, and this budget was based upon that. Projected property tax revenues make up approximately 32% of the town's budget. Property tax revenue is based upon the values of our existing homes, non-residential buildings, as well as new construction. The revenues for 2018 have been seen as an increase of approximately $302,000 as we prepare to go into the next budget. That is due mainly due to the increase in revenues resulting from the homes that we have being built currently in our area and the economic turnaround that we are seeing, as well as not only Wendell, but Wake County and other areas across the state as well. This will allow for lease of equipment, addition of 2 police officer positions mid-year. By leveraging fund balance, lease options, and operating budget, we are looking at all angles to be able to provide those services while keeping that tax rate steady. No new loans are being planned for this year. Again, that is something we have had to do over the last several years, and it's no new loans are being added at this time. Grants proposed for this year include Wake County ABC grant of $9,000. That is being carried over from past years, and that helps with Camp Choices and Track Out Camp, and the Governor's Crime Commission grant. Again, this is being carried over as well for firearm replacement. And as stated, we have the budget that public hearing that will be held on the 29th. What you will see is a difference from last year of quite a bit, and mainly that is the overall budget has been reduced because of the loans that we are not receiving, because we had to count those as revenues in the past. So that is where we would see the biggest change. What I would say is that you're also going to see, pull this back up here. Some of the highlights will include those 2 positions we talked about mid-year. Information technology, we'll be looking at that and working our way through that process. Fund balance, this is something that is more than we have taken out last year. It's $360,500, again, to cover items, and we're doing this in the event and the ability not to take out an additional loan. You will also note, is that this will maintain us at the rate where the board has said of maintaining more than 40% of fund balance, so that even with the expenditure of this, we are still in good financial shape. Additional expenses will include contract services for stormwater. We're going to, instead of, again, being creative, instead of buying a new jet machine, we're going to look at contract services for this year and see how that works out. We also have special appropriations, East Wake Education Foundation, Historic Society, Interact. Just to let you know that the Historic Society and the Chamber request have been rolled into our event section. So, and that is to help with the July 4th as well as the Harvest Festival this year. Salary adjustments are being proposed at 3%, and that would be a cost of living and no merit. One of the things that we feel is important, we were not able to meet our goal, is to have a combination of cost of living and merit, and we were not able to make that happen with our current budget. Health insurance premiums are expected with United Healthcare to increase by approximately 10%. Some of the other highlights that we have. Again, some of the capital needs that we'll be looking at. will be to continue some of the things that we have with our facade grants. This year, we're looking and working with the Appearance Committee on art structure throughout the town and some of the benches. Parks and Recreation continue to look at their shade. They also are looking at their master plan and having that brought in. The computer for the police cars, the CAD system, 3 police vehicles, as well as public buildings and grounds. We had that set at $35,000. Again, that's coming out of fund balance. But what we will do before we do that, and we mentioned that in the past, we will get bids on that and get that reduced as low as that we possibly can. Public Works, we're looking at, again, the stormwater mapping system that we continue with AMT, and leasing out the knuckle boom equipment there. Also, existing debt service, just to bring that up, and some of the years that we've had the equipment loan for citizens, we still have that until 2022. Also, we have an equipment loan with KS Bank, and that is through 2023. The facility loan that we have will be through 2028. Open space, that we are still working on the land that what I call the Clark property that abuts the town park to the south of 2025. And also the street resurfacing loan, that is something that we continue to pay on. We're doing major improvements there, and we're continuing to pay that back. Some of the issues looking ahead that we were not able to gather, again, there's major facility needs that we have as we continue to grow. Also positions that are need in all departments that we're finding. The growth in staff, current town facilities, and that's, we've talked about everything from ball fields to restrooms at the parks to additional gymnasiums, again, as we grow and trying to get ahead of that curve. Although a considerable amount of funds have been spent with the recent part of grant, we are glad that that has been completed out. They've done an excellent job. We hope to be using that field this fall, but there is going to continue to be something that we need to change and update as we continue to add citizens into our community. So I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that you have. I'm going to ask Butch to come up and see if there's anything that we can assist you with at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Piner, Mr. Kay?
I've got a couple. On page 6 of the handout you gave us, at the top, the capital needs, the 10 or so items you have there. Are these all coming from the fund balance? All those?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And then the $360,000 coming from the fund balance. In the past years, what have we taken from there on average?
I believe last year it was 171, but in addition to, we had a loan, and so we were trying to do without the loan this year.
Okay. I know you have some of these things in here. I'd like to just to have just a breakdown of for each one of these things, like for public works, the last one, equipment lease, to know kind of what equipment that would fall under. That would help me out too as well. And then you mentioned about getting bids on some of these. Which items on there would you be getting bids for that potentially could be changing?
Well, okay, as we've met and talked about IT, we have a lot more work to do in that area, as you're very much aware. The art structure is pretty much fixed with the assistance of the Appearance Commission and the molds that'll have to be done. We won't be able to switch vendors with that. Parks and Recreation, we're looking at shade structures. Much of that, Jeff has already been getting multiple bids and looking at the cost of those. The facilities plan, as far as the master plan and updating of that, he has been working with different groups and getting numbers, as well as with Ms. Susan Hatchell, who just completed our part of grant, is very familiar with the park and has a lot of the information. We think that we'll probably be able to get our best bid and information from them because they just already have so much of what I'd call that baseline. there. The vehicles, that's gonna be state contract.
Okay.
Public buildings and grounds, again, that would be the big one when I say 35,000, the stage. I'm still seeing that's gonna still run probably, 2025. But I think we can get that lower, but that is a number that we had and we wanted, and we put it in there as a holding. The good thing about this is if it does not go there and we get the bids, then it's just that much less that we're taking out of our savings account.
Okay.
We would leave that in there. The Phase 2, that is part of Phase 2 stormwater that we're required to do and to map our stormwater system. This is a continuation of that, just to meet state requirements.
Okay.
And then Public Works, again, looking at Knuckle Boom, we're looking at a lease option there. We've been getting numbers. I would say that our finance director, as well as Mr. Bray, have been working back and forth and trying to work on those numbers to get those lowers, and actually have been able to get those lower over the last month or so. And those would really be what I would say as far as trying to get a better number. We're continuing to work on those.
And then just one last question, and just to make sure am I breezing through this, the police is the only area in which we had new staff being added, is that correct?
Well, yes, but you bring up a good point, because we're actually bringing on some of the Public Works employees that we brought in last year that were kind of part-time, and we were getting financial assistance with the NC Works. We will be bringing them on full-time, although it's not additional bodies, it's just we won't have that assistance to pay those salaries. So, we're bringing that into the equation as far as the budget, but no new actual bodies. The new in addition to will be with the police department.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Joyner?
Go ahead.
So the equipment for Parks and Rec is the sunshade and the capital needs piece. You were just talking to Commissioner Lutz about where it says Parks and Rec equipment, 13,500.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the sunshade. So the one that's listed as facilities, that's the plan?
That was the part of the shed, and the master plan is in there. They wanted the storage, nothing like Public Works, but they needed something to put the lawnmowers in, and so that is what they're looking at there. And that's correct. And the windows for the community center, I don't know how many have been out there, but those between the panes, they've split or they aren't sealed any longer, and so that a large part of that is for that.
If we could just, at least on the facilities one, break that out just so we can see what each one is. The public building and grounds, 35,000. Is that just to supplement the normal line item in the budget for building and grounds, or is that a special project?
That's a special project. That is actual improvements to the stage, the roof, the steps. Mm-hmm.
Have we added anything to the general fund? I mean, so I think I know the answer to this question, but have we added anything to the general fund since last year when we took 170 out? There's been no growth. What would spending 360 put our percentage at of our operating?
It's roughly around about 45%.
Okay.
After we spend that, or?
Yes, sir,
now?
after we
After
spend it.
Okay.
Of course, not knowing what 18 is going to bring, I mean, we could add a little bit back, but obviously when we go through the audit, we'll get that information.
Right. And I've got a couple questions. I can do them now, or I can wait till a later date. It doesn't matter to me.
Sounds great.
Go ahead, Jason.
In our revenues, it'll be page 8 of your handout. the facility rent, is that, what rental is that for? Because it doesn't look like Parks and Rec.
It's just a parking lot out here that we rent, to our neighbor behind us here.
Has the price of the audit changed?
It went up $100.
Okay. Then, I guess this will be for both, but in the governing body and in the administration, dues and subscriptions. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
In the governing body, we have to pay for Campo. It's based on, it's population-based, and then we also pay for the Mayor's Association. Those are the two, basically, that come out of that line item. And then on administration, we pay for Triangle J to be a part of that association. The League of Municipalities comes out of there. And then we've got some other dues that we have to pay for, like for the town clerk, myself as being part of the GFOA, Ms. Teresa, her AICP association dues. So that's pretty much what comes out of administration.
And I know that we've attempted to address IT. I'm sorry, I can't get my computer to pull up. For everyone playing at home, I normally have my spreadsheet, and my spreadsheet highlights red if we're spending more and yellow if we're spending less. I don't have that spreadsheet in front of me, so I'm trying to do it the old-fashioned way. What did we decide to do, at least financially, not making specific decisions about IT, but financially in the budget related to future changes?
We took your suggestion and basically put a lump sum in there, and as we get further into the process, we can discuss on which direction the board would like to go into as far as managed services and that sort of thing. But right now, we basically got a lump sum of $59,500, and that's pretty much where we are.
Can you explain the art structure program? I know that I've heard it once, and I know that you kind of spoke there about a vendor, but I didn't.
Yes, everyone is familiar with on the going down Cypress Street with Oliver. And so as part of working with the appearance committee, one of the next projects was to create statues and wall art throughout the town. And so the main or the major upfront cost is making the mold and getting that prepared. And so what we're hoping to do is once we have that designed and prepared, is then that other groups or entities would be able to buy the statue and put it around town, or they may have their favorite university or their favorite color, or maybe put their business logo on it, and so that it would be something that would both be attractive, it would be art, it could be used by kids and probably adults as well.
Skipping over to public buildings and grounds. When it's listed out as utilities, telephone, what all does telephone entail?
It's just essentially mainly our data.
So is that
and some of our phone system as well. So both data and voice over IP is what we have for our phone system. So that's basically what we're paying for on a monthly basis.
Okay. So is that separate from internet?
It's included in that as well. Yes,
Okay.
Sir. Yes, sir.
I pay a internet bill and I pay a data plan.
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
in my mind, it's two separate.
It's included.
So I'm
Yes,
just
sir.
trying to measure that. And for the record, Tam, I see what you're saying now with that. I still don't like your 5-year idea, but I do see what you're saying, because that's $5,100 a month. Then the other one is, it's listed in a couple of budgets, or a couple of the specific ones, but like in, where it lists fuel for a specific department, I'm assuming that's not, I mean, I would love if the police department spends $2,600 a year in fuel, but I got a feeling that that's not the car.
It's
not the
heating
car.
fuel, heating fuel.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The line item that would be mainly for what we call automotive supplies is basically the gas for the fleet.
Parks and Rec special programs and camps, is that,
Yeah, we've got several that we do. We do the Treat Trail, Big Truck Day, Pro Town BMX.
so it's separate from track out?
Separate from track out, yes, sir. There's a separate line item for track out specifically. Just underneath it there, track out program is specifically just for the track out camp.
And it looks like based on revenues, that's a generator at this point.
Yes, sir. It's pretty much a wash.
And I think this will be my last one, but to the debt service to the city of Raleigh, this is us continuing on the same plan that we've been on, not, I know there was some conversation about Ms. Connor helping work a deal there. Under this plan, how many more years of $1 million do we get to look forward to?
I believe it's 2023.
I know no one will call that brief, but with the absence of my spreadsheets, I will retire for the evening.
And I just have one more question. Currently, with the staffing, who is cutting the grass at the park? Is it Parks and Rec staff doing that?
It is. It is
Okay.
Parks and Rec staff.
Is it mainly is it one person? Is it just kind of Mr. Driver who's doing a lot of that?
Well, it has been Mr. Driver as well. He has had assistance, a part-time person that's helped him during the seasons,
Okay.
and that's what we've had in the past.
Okay. Have we had to do any cutting of the grass on the new field yet?
No, that will, well, I take that back. I think they've done one cut
Okay.
on that. And so we're, once the budget is approved, then we're looking at getting the real mower that will be able to come in and take care of that field.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
And Butch, I'm sorry, Butch, you can get this to me. I know this is one of the ones I ask for every year. But can you shoot us, or at the next meeting, bring up what 1% of salary would be? So if we're given 3, what 1
Yes, sir.
would be?
It's about 40,000.
40,000.
Yes, sir.
And you said that number for the after this expenditure, the percentage would still be at 45%,
Yes, sir.
which is higher than we were in 16.
Yes, sir.
So we're getting money in there somehow.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so we're good?
Thank you.
All right. Item 7B is a presentation of the fiscal year 19 comprehensive list of fees and charges schedule.
Madam Mayor, each year we take a look at the fees and charges that we have and try to evaluate them as we go through with each department. What you have is a kind of a split screen talking about the fees, what we're looking at putting up. Filing fees currently for mayor and commissioner are $5. The only other place that I know that there's $5, it is for a commissioner in the town of Zebulon. So most are more around this $25 range. We are recommending to go to the $25 for that. Street closing fee. One of the things that we really haven't had is a lot of times people like to have block parties, or they, as we're growing, particularly in our cul-de-sacs, and to be able to provide them with, cones, and to be able to fill out the application and the sound permits. And it would not apply to DOT roads, but it gives us some flexibility in working with the subdivisions in the neighborhoods, as well as taking care of the essentials as far as cones and barricades that would be needed. And so we're asking that we have a minor street closing application fee of $15, and then the cones or barricades would be $25. The Parks and Recreation, again, the track out camp has been $25. We're just adding that in there so that for just clarity purposes. We also have added the adult beach volleyball. We've got additional lights up there, and we're looking at going that up to $100 per team there, since adding that. As far as, and we've also added adult fast pitch, and $450 a team. With the tournaments, we have not been requiring a deposit, and so sometimes with those fields, they're make requests many months in advance, and we feel that to make sure that we have a deposit, because we've got that on reserve, then if there's a reason that they don't need that field, that we've helped to recoup some of those costs. Also with the disc golf, that again is something we're getting more requests for tournaments and events. There are no lights. It's got to be done during daylight hours, and for hosting a tournament out there, $100, and getting that field and those trails ready. The community center, what we're looking there is a change going up $200 for from $2,300 for a resident to $2,500, and $2,800 for a visitor to $3,000. One of the things that's happening there, and we have been very fortunate with the way that Parks and Rec has run many of our events. However, what we're finding is we're often short in the area of visibility in the parking lots. And we think that this is something that we would like to make sure that we have additional staff that has been trained, for event staff that could be out there in those parking lots to make sure we continue to have a safe environment. Again, this is not as a result of any problems, but just trying to get ahead of that curve. There is additional cost to have that in place, having people that have been specifically trained. So we're asking that go up. Police officers, we've been charging $35 an hour. Public Works, we had that as $30. We're recommending to go up to $35. That would be mainly because we are using, it may be different kinds of equipment, but we're still using phones and radios and vehicles, and it just for ease going across the board. Contractor change form. Currently we have $60 when someone comes in to do a change for a contractor form. Say I wanted to change my electrician. It costs to go into the form and get that updated $60. Well, we didn't have a limit. So sometimes if I'm a builder and I'm doing a subdivision, and then all of a sudden my electrician is no longer able to assist me, and so I've pulled all these permits, and now I've got to go change. $60 for all of that. We just thought that could be excessive. It could be 7 to 10. It could be even more sometimes. So we thought that we would cap that at $180 per event. If they brought in, just say 7. That's happened, 7. Just so that we could do all the 7 for $180 instead of continuing to charge everyone $60. For the annexation, zoning, zoning map amendment, we're looking at going up $50 for those, rezoning, special use, variance. That's mainly due to the cost of posting the notices that we have, as well as staff time. It is very expensive to do public notices in the paper. So we want to make sure that we've got that covered, and again, it's that we recoup those costs. As far as something that is new, we're looking at sidewalk and driveway inspections. For the initial and reinspection, $60, and then after that, second and subsequent charges would be $60. Again, we're making multiple trips to some of the homes when we're looking at driveways and sidewalks, and we would like to have those reduced, or that is a manpower and vehicle that could be going back 2, 3, 4 times, and it's just getting very costly. Also, storm drainage inspection. That is something that we want to make sure that we've got a cost. We've looked and talked with the other towns. It's usually running about $1 per linear foot for stormwater. Again, if they want to hire a third party and provide that information to us, that is certainly fine. We don't have a problem with that. But when we have certified people here on staff and they're asking us to look at that before we can accept it, then we're looking at adding that $1 per linear foot cost. Tap fees, these are City of Raleigh fees that have, you will see that will go up. Talking about your tap from $27.92 to $29. The meter set fee is going up $9. And then you've got a 1 inch is going from $3.23 to $3.35. Stub inspection up $3. Again, with the sewer, we're looking at tap again going up from $34.90 to $36.25. Stub inspection again going up $3. For the residential and irrigation from $11.50 to $11.94. Irrigation from $5.58 to $5.80. Irrigation meter set $2.45 to $2.54. Again, those are fees that have been set by the City of Raleigh, which again we are part of that utility system for setting those. Also, we will no longer be charging, because of the general statutes, capacity fees for developments that have come in, except for Wendell Falls per the developers agreement. When the statute came into place, so we can not charge, unless we have a developers agreement, we cannot charge the capacity fee in addition to. And those are the highlights.
Are there any questions for Ms. Piner about the Vista fees?
And this may be a Butch question, but have we run the numbers as far as projections on what these, it looked like essentially every special use variance, zoning text amendment, like all of those went up.
They do.
Have we run the numbers to see what we think the expected revenues are going to be?
Well, what we can do is look at the history. I don't know that we've actually run those numbers. We usually look at just historical data, because as what we have found as we continue to grow, usually we have more rezonings, more annexations, those kinds of things that have happened, and we're seeing that we're not really recouping our cost. But we can look at that historical data and pull something up for you on that.
I'm certainly all for charging what it costs us to do it. I've run into a couple situations now where the fee is essentially the cost of the project. So the person is forever stuck in this dilemma of maybe I need a variance or maybe I want to do this, but I'd have to pay the town almost as much as it would cost me to do what I want to do, and it's a wash. So if we could get this with the side by side,
Okay.
this PowerPoint, that would be appreciated.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Sorry, I had to write a note.
I'll bring it up later.
All right, item number 8 is a discussion to permanently close a portion of unopened right-of-way known as Lillian Avenue off Nightdale Eagle Rock Road. It's within the town's ETJ.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the board. Tonight, you're asked to consider adoption of a resolution for an intent to close a right-of-way and to schedule a public hearing for this item on June 11th, which will follow the public notice intent as required by general statute. Ms. Barahona has submitted a request to formally close a portion of Lillian Avenue in Wendell, which is approximately 6,000 square feet. Lillian Avenue splits the properties owned by Mrs. Barahona. On July 21st, 1906, the final plat was recorded for the creation of the Eagle Rock subdivision, as shown in Attachment B. This portion of Lillian Avenue requested for closure has not been improved, open to the public, or accepted for maintenance by NCDOT. However, it is still shown as right-of-way on Wake County's GIS records. The applicant seeks to formally close this portion of Lillian Avenue in an effort to install a new well at 6806 Nightdale Eagle Rock Road. Without the right-of-way abandonment, the existing lot is too small to accommodate a new well. The applicant has sought to access municipal water through an annexation request, but we were unable to act on that request since she represented only a portion of the existing subdivision. According to state statute, in order for a road or alley to be formally closed, the municipality's town board must first adopt a resolution declaring its intent to close and calling a public hearing on the question. This resolution must be published in paper for 4 successive weeks, and notices must be mailed to adjoining property owners and posted on the site. Since Mrs. Barahona owns all of the requested land on both sides of the road, she would gain sole ownership of the land currently serving as right-of-way if it were closed. The requested land would be evenly split between lots 1 and 2 and lot 5, as shown on the right-of-way disposal plat. The unimproved 20-foot wide publicly dedicated alley behind those lots shall remain. If the alley were to ever be improved, there would still be 4 points of ingress-egress to that alley. Given that this portion of Lillian Avenue is currently unimproved and multiple connections would remain for access to that alley at the rear of those lots, staff recommends adoption of the attached resolution of intent.
Any questions for Mr. Reedy?
Does the town have any type of utilities in that area?
Well, we have the water line which runs along the front of Nightdale Eagle Rock.
It's not on Lillian.
It's not on Lillian.
It's not on Lillian.
Nothing that needs to be reserved if this area is closed?
No.
Are there any other questions, Mr. Reedy? No.
Motion to adopt.
Yeah, a motion to adopt the ordinance, the resolution.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution of intent to close the road, Lillian Avenue, right away.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the resolution to close Lillian Avenue right away. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
All right.
Item number 9 is a request for a fee in lieu of a sidewalk.
The board is asked to discuss and take action on a sidewalk fee in lieu request on the north side of Chart House Drive along the Wendell Builder Supply development. David Perry has requested to install off-site sidewalk in lieu of sidewalk construction for a portion of the north side of Chart House Drive. The section 9.3 requires sidewalk on both sides of the street, or if they don't want to provide the sidewalk, payment of lieu of physical improvements may be permitted by the Board of Commissioners. Last January, the town board adopted a fee in lieu of sidewalk construction policy. The purpose of the policy is to establish rules and procedures to accommodate circumstances when current site conditions or other considerations justify the acceptance of a fee in lieu of sidewalk construction. Per that policy, all requests shall be reviewed and decided upon by the Wendell Board of Commissioners. The policy lists the following as criteria for approving it. The applicable property will be developed for residential purposes with a density of less than 1 acre per, 1 dwelling unit per acre. There are no sidewalks in the vicinity of the project, and it is unlikely that there will be development nearby that would require the installation of sidewalks in the future. Storm drainage or similar public utility facility prevents installation of the sidewalk, and neither the sidewalk nor the facility can be reasonably relocated to accommodate both. The topography would require the construction of a retaining wall more than 6 feet in height to accommodate the sidewalk. There is a planned roadway or infrastructure improvement scheduled to be implemented within the next 5 years, which would require the removal or relocation of the required sidewalk, or other circumstances make the sidewalk installation requirement unreasonable or inappropriate. The applicant provided a justification for not installing the sidewalk to include the safety of pedestrians in a high-traffic commercial area. Sidewalk is already provided on the other side of Chart House Drive. The sidewalk for that is not currently in place at the time, but is expected to be installed in the very near future. Preservation of existing vegetation that meets screening and landscaping requirements, which would be removed to accommodate the sidewalk. Minimization of land disturbance, and that sidewalk is needed in other locations more than is needed on both sides of Chart House Drive. As stated in the policy, the fee calculation for approved payments in lieu shall be based on the adopted fee schedule, which is $25 per linear foot. Based on that figure, for 780 feet, you'd be looking at $19,500. If the board decides to accept off-site construction, the policy states the following in regards to identifying alternate location for installation: that the construction may be credited by equivalent amount of sidewalk construction in another location, subject to review and approval by the Town of Wendell Planning Department. The selected location for off-site sidewalk construction must be approved by the zoning administrator, as well as inspected by Public Works prior to pouring. Additionally, the developer must obtain all necessary encroachments and/or easements and provide copy of said agreements to the Town of Wendell prior to commencement of the work. Unless otherwise approved by the administrator, off-site sidewalk permitted by the policy shall be due prior to, in this instance, a building permit. Well, actually it'd be a CO for the building permit. Existing site conditions do not strictly meet the town's policy for justifying acceptance of a sidewalk fee in lieu request. However, the imminent installation of a sidewalk on the opposite side of Chart House Drive creates a compelling argument for considering alternate sites for installation, whether it's through the town use of fee in lieu funds or by having the applicant directly install the sidewalk elsewhere.
I'm a little concerned that we're getting I don't want us to be in the sidewalk installation business. And to me, the fee in lieu of was supposed to be a fallback position if there was an extraordinary circumstance. And I just don't want to be doing it just because someone is inconvenienced by it. I think that over the years we've fallen into that situation a lot, and that's why we don't have sidewalks here in town. So that's just my opinion about it. What do you have to say, Mr. Boyett?
I would just like to go down the applicant's justifications for these. The safety of pedestrians in a high-traffic commercial area. Pedestrians are safer on a sidewalk than they would be on the road. So I don't exactly understand the logic to that one. The sidewalk's already provided on the other side of Chart House Drive. That is true, but that would also mean that anyone wanting to utilize the sidewalk would have to cross the road in order to be able to use it, partially negating the benefit of having sidewalk on both sides. Preservation of existing vegetation. Can't argue with that. You got to tear out grass and plants to put in a sidewalk.
I think there's some bushes there. I wrote that.
Perhaps the bushes.
Yeah.
And sidewalk is needed in other locations more than is needed on both sides of Chart House Drive. I don't really know a way of saying this without sounding like a very mean person, but that's not the applicant's concern. We know we need sidewalks, and we know we need them in a lot of places a lot worse than this, but that's not justification for not putting sidewalk here. You know, this street backs up to several plots of land which are adjacent to the middle school, of which there is no way to get through. I mean, there's a neighborhood a couple plots back. If development ever continues down Chart House Drive further into that block of land, that could become a pretty viable way for people to get from the 97 area back over to that part of Wendell Boulevard. And if we don't put sidewalk on it now, and I seem to recall we had all these conversations originally when Chart House was originally being upgraded. And so I find it some very weak justifications, and the only other one would be that, you know, if this is how much it's going to cost to put in these sidewalks, I don't understand the difference between putting them in there and putting them in somewhere else to the applicant. Because other than having to plant some more vegetation to replace that which might be lost, and land disturbance, I just don't see too much benefit to the applicant to getting rid of the sidewalk, other than it perhaps encroaches on part of the lot that he would be able to use, or pushes back further the boundary, which I don't think it does, but.
And one option that we could offer is to narrow that verge between the curb and the sidewalk. Typically it's 7 feet. If we wanted to narrow that down to minimize trying to save those bushes, that is an option that we could.
What's the setback on the other side?
It's the 7 feet.
And then it should be 7 feet on this side.
If I may. Dr. Vardy will recall that when Dr. Vardy was trying to put his piece of sidewalk in and was running into complications, Dr. Vardy said, hey, this is not about the money. And I said, okay, show me the money, which is the intent of this policy. And sitting down with staff and working with staff and trying to create this policy, we want sidewalks. We want sidewalks everywhere. I think that if we were to do a poll of the room or the town or even the board and said, where are sidewalks most important, we literally just did that at our last meeting. Chart House Drive is not one of the places. If I told you that it had a sidewalk on one side, I think we'd all agree that maybe Wendell Boulevard, where people are walking trying to get back and forth to school, or back and forth to school, or back and forth to the grocery store, is more important. I'd also like to highlight, Patrick, what's the going rate that we set? $25?
$25 per linear foot.
So at $780.
$19,500.
Okay. I direct everybody to our proposed budget. We just looked at page 18, about halfway down. We have budgeted a whopping total of $2,500 for sidewalks. So we can say that we're all serious about sidewalks and these things don't matter. But in all honesty, in my opinion, this policy is doing at least what I hoped it would do. When there's a place where no one would really care if there's a sidewalk there or not, we give them the option and they get to put it somewhere else. And in a lot of cases, it's worked out really well, and we've been able to put it places that it really works, where it connects, where we were just looking at our last meeting of how to get more money to try to make a bigger connection. I have been to church the past 3 Sundays, but I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that this just landed in our lap. We've been looking for the money. We've been looking for sidewalk money. Here you go. It's right there. I understand. I don't feel like we're giving anybody a break. Eventually, this will be a piece of land that if it develops and someone else doesn't want to build a sidewalk there, they could pick this spot and go in and build sidewalks. We're getting the exact same amount of sidewalks. We're actually just getting a lot more influence on where it goes. And that's why I kind of like the idea.
Will you remind us of what the cost was to connect the two sidewalks, or the long piece of sidewalk we were discussing last meeting? I believe it was $30,000 or somewhere around about connect that piece of Wendell Boulevard.
No, that was 200,000.
Yeah.
So that's not going to work.
Because you've got multiple drainage issues, driveway aprons, those type of things.
Okay. Never mind.
Well, I appreciate where Commissioner Joyner's coming from, but I also think we need to take into consideration the resource of our town staff and our staff's time to oversee sidewalk installation. And, you know, I feel like what we had adopted was more for extenuating circumstances, and, you know, that's just my opinion. I feel like folks need to put them in where they're supposed to put them in. We took a tough stand on them. They've already put one in, the project. We made Hebsville Baptist Church put one in. We've made people put in sidewalks, and granted, that was prior to the adoption of some of this policy, but this is supposed to be, in my mind, for things where there's topographical issues, where you would have, like at Old Wendell we did it, where you would have to have built a bridge to get over the rip-rap stream. I mean, that's unreasonable to expect someone to do. This is a sidewalk that's, you know, that I think they should have to put it in. To me, this is just part of the cost of doing business in that spot, and I think they should have to put it in.
But they are gonna put it in. They pay to put it in.
I think they should have to put it in that spot. I'm not trying to debate you about it, I'm just expressing my opinion.
May I make for a motion?
Make it.
Make a motion, we approve the fee and lieu request for the sidewalk.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the fee and lieu request for the sidewalk. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Did you say aye? I couldn't.
No, I did not.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 10 is the standards and specifications
Just
manual.
real quick, just for clarification, that's the fee amount, not them installing it off-site, is that correct?
Can you ask me that question one more time?
That would be taking the fee amount from the applicant, not having them install the 780 feet elsewhere, or?
My intent was the linear footage going elsewhere.
But do you want him to do, the applicant to do the installation?
I want to treat it the same way we treated every other one we've done.
Can we have a bit of a discussion about location, just because we know that it won't cover all of Wendell Boulevard? Well, 780 is going to be 10 times the amount of what the fee and lieu.
Right, but
So-
didn't you guys come up with a list of, I think maybe
Prioritization list.
the prioritization, didn't we have like a punch list of things to do?
We do have a list, and David, do you know anything off? We have some places that could fill in some gaps, but it wouldn't be Wendell Boulevard.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some items, some locations identified, generally smaller places where you're trying to bridge gaps, so you'd probably have to group a number of them together to get to that 780 linear feet spoken of here.
We have some left from a previous one as well, right? Didn't we have?
Collected 3,000 or something.
Yeah. a little
Yes,
bit.
we have a little bit, although in this
Yeah.
case, you know, I suppose we could look at having them put in a certain amount and then also saying, well, could we pay you that extra little bit if we needed to, but it'd be kind of two different processes, one where they're putting in a length and one where we have funds to go towards
I was just adding
it.
up the footage in my head, that's all.
I mean, so the rate would be
How much is
$25 per
possible?
linear foot, right?
The way the policy is written, it basically says an equivalent.
Either or.
Yeah, it's written as either or, where either we can take the rate or we can have them install an equivalent length elsewhere. I think what Patrick was pointing out is if you try to take that equivalent length and put it in a lot of locations, it's going to cost a whole lot more than what the fee amount would be. It's only really to the applicant's advantage if they think, oh, I can install a sidewalk somewhere for less than the 25. I think you'd be hard pressed to find anywhere where you could put in that amount. I mean, there's certain places where it's flat, where there's no obstructions here or there, and that's what we looked for in the past. Why we picked that piece along Academy Street, and we looked at some other pieces that might be on 3rd Street, and there's little stretches. But you really have to try to identify those places where there's no obstacles really in the way. So we'd probably have to, it'd be a little bit of a challenge to piece together that many.
If I may.
Go ahead.
If we're gonna go this route, and we are, it's fee in lieu of, it's not work in lieu of. it's fee in lieu of. And if we're going to say you don't have to build it, it's my opinion that we say we'll take the going market rate and then we'll find somewhere to put it. Because we can't say, oh, it's 780 feet, okay, great, come put it right there on Wendell Boulevard.
Yeah.
It's fee in lieu of. I don't know any other way to put it.
That's what I was referring to when I said it's more drain on resources of town staff to have to oversee it, but we can oversee it, we need to just take it, and you all can determine where are the best spots to put it.
David, isn't there another piece of that policy that says if I can go lay, if you and I can mutually agree and I can go lay 780 feet of sidewalk somewhere, that I never give the town money, I give you the linear footage, so they're required for either 780 linear feet or 780 times 25.
Right, that is how it's written. I mean, it's left a little bit open-ended if they're supposed to work with us to identify a spot. I don't know of a spot offhand where you could get 780, and there's not really a time limit attached to that either.
I don't ever remember making this decision when we've done this process before. It's always been left up to y'all to work with the developer and figure out whether y'all want to take the money or the developer wants to lay the sidewalk.
I don't think it's up to, if you decide that I believe it's written that if you find it acceptable for them to do installation elsewhere, that then they work with us. But I believe, and I'd have to look back to know for sure, that the decision of whether or not to take funds or find another location, I thought that was still left to the board.
I don't agree with Commissioner Jordan. We've always just said yay to the money or no to the money, and I don't recall having a discussion afterwards on, well, okay, now where do we want to have them put it? I just thought we were taking the money or we're not.
Well, I think there's only been one other time when someone's looked to install it elsewhere, which was the case of Lucis Jones, where it was 130 some feet. That's the only time where we've looked for an alternative location of installation rather than just taking the funds.
Okay.
Can y'all take this policy and that vote and sort it out, or do we need to go deeper?
We can meet with the applicant and look for locations and see if we can find spots that would fill that need. And I suppose if we can't find that spot, or if they can't identify that spot, then that will be the answer and we'll take the funds.
And he asked the town council to consider and allow him to complete off-site sidewalk work. So I assume that means he wants to do the sidewalk.
And we have the engineer here. If you want to speak to anything. If you'd like to hear from him.
We have a list with a pedestrian plan. We have a list of locations that we can meet with the applicant and work through this.
Okay.
We can handle
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Piner.
All right. Number 10.
The town board is asked to discuss and adopt the final draft of the standards and specifications meeting. At the April 23rd Board of Commissioners meeting, Sam McDonald from AMT Engineering presented an overview of the importance for the town to adopt a standards and specifications manual. Staff requested the town board send any questions they may have regarding the manual so that we could ask Mr. McDonald to answer those questions. At this time, we've only received 2 questions. Both were from Commissioner Joyner. The first was what standards in the manual are greater than the existing DOT standards, and what is the justification thought behind why those standards are higher? Sam, you want to, since they're your words, you want to present or you want me to? Okay.
You're doing a great job.
The first question was in response, he said that the seating specifications are different than NCDOT, but conform to Wake County's seating specifications, which seem appropriate because Wake County reviews erosion control, and Wendell's within Wake County. NCDOT seating specifications is a blanket for the entire state area and doesn't take into effect regions. The second is the dig once conduit is not something that is covered by NCDOT, but is included to provide for future utility installation in an effort to reduce excavation and disturbance of finished grading, pavement, and sidewalk within the right-of-way. Basically, we try to limit how many times we have to dig on a new road with this policy for utilities. And third, NCDOT subdivision manual gives several options for paving sections for local roads and streets. It depends on the type of subgrade soils. For good to excellent, you've got 8 inches of stone, 6 inches, and a pavement surface determined by a district engineer, 6 inches of stone, and 1.5 inches of asphalt. 3 inches of intermediate course and 1.5 inches of top coat. Then it goes down to poor or fair subgrade soils. And the Wendell specification calls for a pavement section of 6 inches of stone, 3 inches of that intermediate course that is used for the heavy construction of concrete trucks and those type of and trusses being delivered while construction is going on, and then 2 inches of the top coat. Wendell's proposed pavement standards are being recommended to provide a structurally sound pavement section once the construction is complete. Though different from DOT standards, Wendell proposed pavement standards are in line with other Wake County jurisdictions. Furthermore, a local NCDOT road will likely receive less wear and tear from that traffic. A rural subdivision, which are outside of municipalities, typically has a lower number of units, which means fewer residents and cars. Rural subdivisions also are less likely to have connectivity standards, which would mean that there's less through traffic on those roads. The final course of pavement can be delayed until the majority of development and construction is complete to avoid damage to the surface course. However, by adding that intermediate pavement, there is a paved surface for traffic to travel during the period before the final surface course is installed. That interim pavement provides sufficient strength to support traffic and not be damaged. This is especially important since the traffic the road sees during that construction process is the heaviest of vehicles. You've got your loaded concrete trucks, your construction deliveries, etc., which cause the greatest wear and tear on the road. Without this intermediate pavement, the town would be at a much greater risk of accepting a structurally impaired road within the shorter lifespan, requiring higher maintenance costs to the town. That just is what we've already talked about before. So staff recommends that the town approve the standards and specifications manual, and we have Sam McDonald here who could answer any technical questions about it.
Are there any questions? What's y'all's pleasure? What do you want to do?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to adopt the final draft of the standards and specifications manual.
I do have discussion if we're gonna make a motion. And then, it's just, I guess, common knowledge that I'm not an engineer, nor do I build roads for a living. And in previous conversation with others, I thought we were, the intention was to wait on this. I don't there's a lot of it that I don't understand, and I don't know that I likely will understand. I don't have any qualms with setting standards.
Would you like Commissioner Lutz to amend his motion to?
I don't have a problem with it either way. I just, the previous conversations that I had heard we were moving slower on this because we didn't quite all understand it. I'm happy to take the engineering staff's recommendation and move forward with that, but I just want to make it known to everybody else that I'm not an engineer and I've tried to read it 2 times and I don't understand it, so there could be unintended consequences. I understand the piece about trying to get the roads paved, and I appreciate you giving the detail of the layers. The road portion provides more clarity, but it's a pretty big document. And like I said, we get frustrated sometimes when we have to amend documents. So if we want to move forward with it, that's fine, but we just may end up amending it in the future.
Yeah, I'd rather avoid that if we can. What do y'all want to do?
I guess my opinion was I don't really understand. I mean, I don't, not that I understand it, but I could go to school for 6 years probably and still be, lost in some of the terminology. If you don't feel comfortable, do it. I mean, we can. I'm making a motion.
I'm happy to vote with it. I just know that when we butt heads, it's typically ever trying to fix something that we wrote. So I thought we would.
Well, is there any? There's no harm in waiting this a little bit longer. So I'll just rescind my motion, and we can.
y'all take a look at it, please, and submit your questions, and, or if there's just areas, general areas that you have questions about, let them know, because we don't want to be back here in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks, and 2 weeks, and we're not going to become engineers in 2 weeks. So you need to take a look at it, figure out what it is that you feel uncertain about. Yes, ma'am?
When does the board want this item to be?
When do you want it back? You want 2 weeks, a month? What do you want?
I have just a thought, would there be any, so letting the technical review committee as a whole not look at like a specific project, but let them look at the specifications, since they're the ones that generally interpret and review plans at this level of detail? And just let them take a look at it?
We did that over the last 18 months as far as sitting down with departments of, what they'd like to see, sitting down with
The
the
technical review
engineer.
committee has already reviewed this.
Not as a formal everyone together, but individually over each piece that would concern them.
They're different areas of expertise.
Correct, like Public Works for the roads, we consulted
Okay.
with them, engineer who's part of, obviously wrote it, who's part of the TRC. So we have in a sense, but we could take it, we could hold a special one, just to go over it in June if that's the pleasure of the board, and, formally make a recommendation or whatever you guys would like to do on that.
I don't want to create busy work for folks though, so it's just,
I was just trying to get
no, that was a good suggestion.
another set of eyes, but like I said, you were very correct, Madam Mayor, that I know none of us will be an engineer in 2 weeks. If this is the recommendation of staff, I'm fine with it. I was just pointing out for the
Well, we
future.
can still, there's nothing that says we can't just sit on it for a little bit, so just decide what you want to do.
Does it have to be a date certain?
But if it doesn't, they don't know when to bring it back. No, it doesn't have to be, but it'll be in limbo until
What's that?
Do you want a date certain, or do you want a date uncertain?
It's up to y'all. It's just your pleasure. Whatever y'all want to do.
You
is
want to set
fine.
out, you want to set it out, 2 months, after the budget?
Budget.
Yeah, I think that might be nice. Okay.
So your first or second meeting in July?
Second.
Second.
Yeah, please.
All right, thank y'all. Item number 11, appointments to the Town of Wendell Citizen Advisory Board. Ms. Scoggins.
Okay, Madam Mayor and Board, before you this evening are the appointment or requests for appointments to the Town of Wendell Citizen Advisory Boards. Recruitment for the Citizen Advisory Boards launched on Tuesday, February 27th and wrapped up Tuesday, April 3rd. The applications were reviewed for residency requirements. Those that met the requirements are within your packet this evening. Letters were mailed to the applicants on April 5th. They were invited to hear the business of the town meeting on April 23rd. And this evening, action by the board is requested. For the benefit of those in attendance this evening and for those who will be viewing this at home, we've gone ahead and done some additional slides explaining how the board makes the appointments to the citizen advisory boards. Appointments to citizen advisory boards are by written ballot. That's in accordance with your ordinance and rules of procedure. This evening, you'll be seeing a roster of the current board members, followed by a slate of the candidates. Board of Commissioners will proceed with one citizen advisory board at a time. Commissioners will sign their ballot. After each vote, the ballots will be tallied and announced. Following the meeting, the ballots will be available in the clerk's office. The candidates with bolded names are your incumbents. An asterisk denotes a candidate has applied for more than one citizen advisory board. In keeping with the town's board's rules of procedure, a person may serve on one town advisory board at a time. When an applicant is selected for a board, the applicant's name will be stricken from any of the other requested boards. And we will begin with your appearance commission.
I'm just going to make a statement for the record. I've had, in trying to figure out who goes where, I know that the clerk advised us of one verbal agreement with Ms. Anderson, who also advised that she'd be willing to serve on either of those boards, as well as Keisha Staten and Ms. Amy Swain, both advising that they'd be willing to serve on the Board of Adjustment.
Are we selecting four, or we denoting who the alternates are, or how are we?
If you have a preference for your alternates, we can do that. Effective July 1, your appearance commission will go from 6 members to 5 members. With the number that is on the current board, that'll drop it down to 3. And so when you have 2 regular members, that'll bring it back to the 5 in accordance with your July 1st text amendment. And then you would also need 2 alternate members.
Do we need to indicate on our applications which one we want to be alternates and which one we want to be regular?
If you have a preference, yes.
Can't do all that. We'll let the votes fall where they may. Okay, your slate of candidates for the Appearance Commission that you've selected will be Megan Hinkle as an alternate, Allison Yeargin as a regular member, Leanne Thompson, regular member, and Brianna Sizemore as an alternate. Okay, Commissioner Joyner, you said you had communication for the Board of Adjustment?
Board of Adjustment that Ms. Keisha Staten and Ms. Amy Swain, who would be an ETJ member, have both agreed that they would also be willing to serve on this, the Board of Adjustment.
And
And Ashley Anderson also stated that she would be willing to serve on the Economic Development Commission.
Mhm. Okay, now Miss Amy Swain is an ETJ member.
Correct.
Okay, I only need one ETJ member and two in-town members for the Board of Adjustment.
Understood. Ms. Anderson also stated that she was willing to serve on the Economic Development Commission, which would take away one of your ETJs. She's also ETJ.
Okay, who signed this one? Okay, yeah, that needs to go back.
That's my fault.
Somebody's playing 3D.
That's my squiggly hand right there. You can read it if you want.
Who did this one? That man? Does that mean he just wants Concussion and Amy? Yeah, she's ETJ. Okay. Okay. As far as I can tell, I'm seeing. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so your Board of Adjustment members will be Concussion Staten and Amy Swain. And then any other boards that Ms. Staten has applied for, we'll need to strike her name from the list, and we'll strike Amy's name from the Parks and Rec list. Yeah. All right. Oh, hold on. Is this okay? She comes off of this. She comes off. Okay, she comes off. Thank you. Okay, and then based on your discussion during the Board of Adjustment process, that would put Ms. Ashley Anderson back on the EDC list, and it removes Ms. Staten.
So do we need to, if we were to want to vote for Ms. Anderson, would we need to write her in on this then?
Please. All right. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, so your slate for your Economic Development Commission will be Paul White, Stacy Pesci, and Ashley Anderson. All right, that moves us up to our Parks and Rec Commission, and Ms. Swain will come off of the list. Okay. All right. Your ETJ members for the Parks and Rec Commission will be Michael Gardner and Emma Gardner. All right. Okay, she has been appointed. She comes off. Let's see for that one. Okay. Let's do this. All right, the current members of your planning board and your slate of candidates, and Ms. Pesci has been removed as she was appointed on your BOA. Okay, your slate for the planning board will be Ryan Zacany and Joe DeLoach, Grace Walter, and Victoria Curtis. We do not have any candidates for the tree board, as Ms. Staton is now on your BOA. All the applicants will receive a letter from the Town Board of Commissioners decision by the end of this month. The Town of Wendell web pages will be updated at the end of June as the appointments become effective July 1. And the ETJ members' recommendations will be forwarded to the Wake County Board of Commissioners with a request of appointment to the respective BOA or Planning Board. And we thank you. Okay.
Can you get us an updated list of, I believe we still have some openings in a few spots, and indicate in town ETJ as appropriate, and then let's get that back open and see if we can't recruit a few people to fill those last couple of places.
Okay, we can do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Goggins. Item number 12 is discussion and review of the town stormwater regulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the board. As stated, I'm just here to give a little bit of information on our current stormwater regulations at the request of the board. At your April 23rd meeting, you asked staff to provide our current regulations for review. with an evaluation of how they compare to some of our adjacent municipal partners. A link to our current stormwater regulations was included as attachment A to your report, and you had a comparison chart included as attachment B that I believe had been previously emailed out as well. For comparison purposes, we looked at Zebulon, Knightdale, Rolesville, Wake County, Garner, and Apex. So if you look at that attachment B, you can see that the primary difference in stormwater standards relates to our nitrogen export rate, so not really water quantity runoff of the site as much as there's some more significant differences in water quality, specifically nitrogen. Of those reviewed, only Wake County, Garner, and Wendell regulate nitrogen export, and Wendell is the only one of those three who are not currently required to do so by the state. Although there are plans by DEQ to make changes to that, bringing all but Zebulon into the group of municipalities and counties that are required to in approximately 1 year. Once mandated by the state, if we are brought in as planned, that will actually be stricter than our current regulations in that it will have a buy down option, but there will be set standards you still have to hit before you can buy down. So that's really all I had as far as new information, but I just, again, wanted to bring this up before the board and see what questions there may be.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Bergmark?
David, the decision from DEQ to, for the record, potentially ask the General Assembly for the authority to do what is being described, is that a population? What's the driver behind that? Why are they?
Yeah, it is mainly driven by population growth. That's why Zebulon is the only one that didn't apparently quite meet that threshold.
Right. And I think, obviously the nitrogen, if us being, can you reset it again, we're one of three. When you were making your presentation, you said Wendell was one of three that,
yes,
in
sir.
relation to nitrogen. We treat nitrogen differently than other places.
Right. So right now, out of basically Raleigh and the county, and I believe Garner. Let me go back to presentation. When I got this up, let's see, nitrogen. Oh, that's right. So I don't have Raleigh in this mix, but Raleigh is also subject to it. The county, Wake County is, and Garner. They all have to meet nitrogen rules per the state. We're the only ones who are voluntarily doing it at the moment.
I would certainly like to see that change, just because we're the only ones that are voluntarily doing it. When we made the adjustments to the LID process from 1 to 2, I feel like we thought we were fixing that problem then. And I feel like after looking at it, we were only looking at about half the problem. The other piece, and this is just more general, David, is if Wake County is going to do our enforcement of our stormwater policy, we're not required to do some of these things. Why not just take a Wake County standard? It seems like something Wake County likes to do is do a Wake County standard and run with the Wake County standard. The disparity doesn't exist if everyone's on the equal playing field. If we're competing with Wake County and other municipalities, it would make sense to me to also consider just looking at Wake County standards. And I'll say, for the record, their current standards, because we haven't read what their new ones are going to be, but I think that may be a good step towards one. It would, with the exception of the nitrogen. But this goes back to me not being an engineer. So if we were writing another sort of policy, I could write a policy, but I don't know how to write what I know how to say what I'm thinking, but I don't know how to write what I'm saying in a technical way. When I've asked questions about this, the resounding thing that keeps coming back is nitrogen, nitrogen, nitrogen. And that seems to be the biggest the biggest issue, but then if you go in deeper into that conversation, it's, well, how can we be competitive? Well, I think one of the ways to be competitive is just take what the county standard is, and be just as competitive as Wake County is.
Ms. Piner, you and I had discussed having someone from Wake County come and discuss this with us, and I can't recall the lady's name. I believe she's getting ready to retire.
Well, we had one of the employees has retired. I had reached out to Wake County, and they weren't able to make this meeting.
Okay.
And I know they are redoing their ordinance. So I can, depending upon how we would like to proceed, I can ask again to see if we can get someone from Wake County to explain the nitrogen and the nitrogen buy down, or we could get somebody from the state. Either one to describe how that works.
I was just particularly interested in having her come, but if she's already retired, I thought she... All right, what would y'all like to do?
I'm sorry, Dave, when these new policies you're mentioning, when are these from the DEQ, when are these coming out?
Do you remember specifically when it's?
They said 12 to 18 months. We technically on paper have been tipped in, but will not be required to comply. I was told 12 to 18 months.
And you mentioned it's based on population. So minor towns like Apex and Rosewood, why do they have none? As far as nitrogen requirements, or is this something different?
So I know that population growth plays a role in their determination, but they might be looking at the broader watershed, how much growth is happening in Wake County, and then when they decide that they need to bring more in, they might exclude those that are at a certain low threshold. I don't know the exact calculation. I just know that Zebulon was the only one that didn't get included in the list.
And it may be some of those are in the Cape Fear Basin instead of the Neuse River.
Okay.
But we can get that information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the other communities that are currently in, the Garner, Raleigh, and Wake County,
Correct.
they have the ability to buy down.
Correct.
We don't have that ability, correct?
Correct.
So, like, that's the other compelling argument for me, is that we end up with rain barrels, and I'm not arguing the effectiveness of, well, I will argue the effectiveness of some of the things that we do for stormwater management, but I'm not arguing against stormwater management. But if everyone else has the ability to, this is the same argument the mayor was making a minute ago. If money fixes it other places, money should be able to fix it here. And since statutorily we can't let money fix it here, I would be inclined to get rid of the nitrogen requirement. I might be so inclined that I didn't bring up stormwater for a while if we could just get rid of the nitrogen part. I would like to hear from someone from Wake County moving forward, but the nitrogen requirement is something that I would like to see go away immediately, if not sooner.
Okay. So we do want to hear from somebody from Wake County, please, and Ms. Piner.
All right.
Would we need to have a public hearing for the nitrogen requirement?
We did. So it would have to go before the planning board and then have to come back before you at a public hearing.
Can we, would y'all be amenable to starting that process?
Can we hear from Wake County first prior to starting that process, or if she's going to speak to it?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I say the nitrogen requirement piece is, regardless of what Wake County walks in and says, we still won't be able to buy out on the nitrogen requirement because it's state statute. We are not a community of the Neuse. We're not a part of that, so we don't have the ability to buy it. So even if she comes in with some good ideas, the nitrogen issue will still be there because we just legally can't do it. So, and I can understand where in 2006 we thought that Wendell Falls was about to explode. We needed to get these things in place, and then 2008 happened, and I know that everyone's feeling good about it now, but regardless, where the nitrogen piece is going to continue to go pain in the side.
So nothing that the lady's going to tell us is, or the gentleman, whoever they send, is going to change the nitrogen portion of it, is what it's saying.
And I don't care, yeah.
So, and that will take a while to go to the planning board and come back, so we could get that ball rolling.
I'm fine with that.
So you want me to go ahead and put it on for the planning board?
So, yeah, y'all want it on there? All right.
Yes, please.
Right. Anything else? Number 13 is a discussion and review of Wake County interlocal agreement to continue administering the Town of Wendell stormwater and erosion and sedimentation control ordinances.
Madam
Mr.
Mayor.
Manager, can I save you some time?
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, for a motion?
Yeah.
Move that we approve the previously reviewed contract. We all read it at the last meeting. I was the only one that had any objections.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve the previously read agreement, contract, rather. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item number 14 is our snapshot. Y'all take a look at it.
I am. I'm very excited for the snapshot.
How far is it down in here?
Mayor, I did have one comment. I spoke to Representative Dixon Paving earlier today because of the railroad at Hollybrook Road. That is scheduled for repair on Thursday. They are watching the weather. It is supposed to rain.
Supposed to rain.
And they said they did not want to open that up and then not be able to put the asphalt back in there. Now, it is still on go as of right now, but they did call me today and just let me know they are concerned with the weather.
All right.
Madam Mayor, if I make a comment on that?
Yeah.
So I guess y'all can't see a snapshot, but this thing goes on. This railroad thing has literally been a thing since October. It also highlights that so Miss Tilly Turlington told me she was tired of her car bouncing all over the road when she went across that last October. And we started trying to chase this down. I know Ms. Scoggins and Ms. Piner spent an elaborate amount of time trying to get a hold of DOT and the railroad has, actually DOT came in last week and tried to make it look a little bit better, and then come to find out it wasn't DOT's problem at all, it was the railroad and us, so we're going to get it fixed, we're going to get it fixed quickly. But I did want to thank Jason Dunnigan with North Carolina DOT, who has been very helpful in responding to emails and trying to help us track things down. I'd like to wish Mr. Virgil Holloman, formerly of the railroad, a happy retirement. It turns out when you send people that have retired emails, they don't respond. So once we track that down, Mr. Alan Bridgers, currently with the railroad, is a great guy and is very happy to help. So thank you to town staff, and I'm glad that Ms. Turlington's request will be done under a year.
I'd also like to report that item number 4, the sidewalk fee in lieu of that started back on 12/1/17 has been taken care of and signed off, so we're all in the clear there.
Okay, so we take that off.
We have a date for the next bond with the blue.
I do not have an update yet. Well, we wanted to wait after the first meeting or the Public Safety Day, the first weekend in May, and we're going to reschedule that and schedule that, but we don't have a date as of yet. I don't have one.
With the workspace improvements that Mayor Gray brought up, that quote that we received, would that be able to come out of the current year's budget?
It would not. What I would recommend is, Finance Director have to correct me if I'm wrong. Plans were to look at that next fiscal year, but we were waiting to see what was coming out of the needs for IT. Did not want to do major renovations and it not be what Tama needed. We have completed the painting in there, but if she found out that it didn't meet her needs, I would I would not want to move forward until we knew how we were going to address that, because it could involve quite a bit of electrical, and that is an old jail cell in the concrete, and running that around, and shelving as well. So try to look at that.
Town square signage, which, by the way, the paving and all looks really great out there. So, what about do we know anything about the sign out there that got destroyed in the storm?
The signs are, Roach has those, and they're under fabrication and being painted.
Okay.
That's part of with the wayfinding.
Okay. Is there anything, any other questions y'all have?
Mayor, for the loan, we've had all the vehicles and equipment for the fiscal year 17-18 have been received. I did not know if it was okay to remove that one or not.
If we have it, yes, let's take it off. Anything else? All right, let's move to number 15. Update on board committees by town board members, Triangle J, Council of Government, Board of Delegates, Mayor Pro Tem Lutz.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was unable to attend the most recent Triangle J meetings due to a conflict, but they did the recommended fiscal year 2019 budget presentation, and they gave an update on the regional summit. There were some date conflicts, and so they're trying to find out a new date for that this year.
Okay. I attended the Triangle J Council of Government Mayor and Chairs meeting. We heard from Tony Copeland, it's the North Carolina Department of Commerce Secretary, and had a discussion on the role local governments play in economic development and business recruitment, and the importance that boards be business friendly and avoid unnecessary regulations. Interesting, we're talking about the stormwater and things like that tonight in that vein. It validates to me a lot of the things that we've done here in town. The Wendell Fire Advisory Board, Commissioner Joyner.
The Fire Department Board met last Thursday. They're anticipating a good budget for them for Wake County. And I stopped by this afternoon, and I believe that they are finished with their hiring process where they brought in 2 new firefighters to replace a retirement and a departure.
Yeah, I met one of them today. I was there filming the mayor's show. I met one. He happened to be there. Technical Review Committee, Commissioner Carroll.
The last TRC meeting, Wendell Crossing was approved with conditions, 49 lots, 3 small things were among those changes, an added hydrant, the water line size, and how the curb ties into the existing road.
All right. Commissioners' reports. We'll start with Commissioner Carroll.
So I had the opportunity to attend the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame induction banquet for Jake May, and we'd just like to say thank you to everybody that was involved in making that happen. It's been a long process from what I understand, and a lot of hard work has gone into it, and just another proof that perseverance pays off, because that was not the first time that they had been submitted. So thank you for everybody who had a part of that. Also, the art walk was great this weekend. Thank you for the Appearance Commission and town staff, everybody that was there. If you missed it, be sure to put it on your calendar for next year. It was a good time. And that's it.
Mayor Pro Tem Lutz.
Yeah, I'll echo Commissioner Carroll's comments on the Spring to the Arts Walk this past weekend. Warm day, but it was wonderfully done. I feel like they just kind of got a little better each year too as well, so it's nice to see. And then also just for the town staff and the law enforcement, EMS, fire, wildlife, everybody who participated in the Public Safety Day too as well. That was always a fun day too. That's all.
Commissioner Boyette.
I also was able to make it out to Public Safety Day. I'm glad to see participation's up. We have more agencies represented than I think we ever have. There's quite a crowd, and it was a lovely day. If you like heat, it's quite warm, but I thought it was a big success, and it allows all the different public safety agencies to interact with the public in a way we normally don't get to. So that's good. Also, I would like to say that the Wendell Fire Department does look forward to welcoming our 2 newest hires. One of them's going to be going on to my shift, and I hope he's as good as the height. So, especially since I'm going to have to put up with it. So, just want to say welcome to those 2.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Joyner?
Big Truck Day was, Public Safety Day was awesome. I had the opportunity to stand by with Chief, who was keeping everyone fed with hot dogs. Actually, the manager was making hot dogs, and the Chief was slinging bottles of water. He let me feel what Antarctica feels like with some sort of concoction he had in that water that was ice cold. So nice on a hot day. But it was really cool because I was riding back through town on my golf cart probably 2 or 3 hours later, and all the trucks had gone. Everyone had packed up their stuff, and I see Chief walking down in uniform, sweaty, but picking up trash on camping out there by himself. So if anyone has it's always cool to see how far our staff goes above and beyond, and that was just, I rode by and saw it, so I want to highlight it. I got the opportunity, I think along with Dr. Lutz, to play in the Wendell Chamber of Commerce golf tournament this past week. That was a lot of fun. I want to thank Lisa McKenzie for that, as well as Scott Hicks. And I'm going to pick up Dr. Lutz here Friday, May 18th. Wendell United Methodist Church Youth, we're doing a spaghetti dinner. Get your tickets. It's spaghetti. Everybody likes spaghetti. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I also attended the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It was a wonderful evening. We're very proud of Jake May and Wendell. I want to thank the Wendell Historical Society and Jake May's family and the Town of Wendell administration and Parks and Rec department specifically for everything that they did, though every department in town probably touched it in some fashion or another over the 18 months or longer that we have endeavored to get this to happen. So I'm very proud of that. I appreciate them being here tonight and bringing us the replica plaque. Public Safety Day was great. I want to thank everybody who came to that. We had animal control here. That's great because that seems to be a hot topic very often. And so they were here to answer any questions that you may have. And they said they were willing to come to everything. So y'all please bring them every single time we have something so everyone can ask them all the questions that they have about animal control issues. This past weekend, one more thing, I do want to thank all the first responders and police and fire, EMS, everyone for their service to our community and for them standing out in the hot. We even had a game warden out there. That was pretty cool. So appreciate them being here for Public Safety Day. Spring Into the Arts was this past weekend. I'm so proud of the Wendell Appearance Commission. That group has really defined themselves and they are just taken off, and they've really caused a lot of great things to happen in Wendell. They work very hard, and I also want to thank Patrick Reedy. I think he's still here for all of his hard work. I think this probably isn't a hat he ever intended he would be wearing, but it wouldn't happen without him, and we appreciate your efforts, so thank you for that, Patrick. I want to thank all of the people who applied to be on citizen boards. We couldn't do the things that we have to do without your willingness to serve the citizens of Wendell, so we thank you for that. One last thing that I would like to mention is, I don't know if you have passed the town square lately, but take a look. In budget preparations this year, the manager was taking a look at the town square to see if we could do something about that gravel out there and just getting some estimates and things. And Ricardo Rico from Superior Concrete offered to, we didn't have enough money in building and grounds to finish it, to do it. But he offered to make up the difference and donated that to the town of Wendell, to the citizens of Wendell. So we really appreciate that. It's beautiful if you haven't seen it. The town square looks completely different now, so we appreciate that. And the sod was also donated by Alphen Farms. This is all local businesses. I'm very proud of how we're all coming together as a community and doing great things, and everybody benefits from that. So if you see it, look at it, but don't walk on the sod. Just let it sit a little while, please. That about tears my nerves up. But it looks really pretty, and the town square looks nice, and we appreciate them for doing that. And the public works staff also, thank y'all for, they worked and worked. That's very close to my home, and so I saw them out there, and they were working out there for several days. And again, I don't know that laying sod was ever something they thought they would ever do, but I appreciate people's willingness to do things for us. I've got a few little notations they've left me as a reminder of the silent auction and artist reception this Friday night at Wine and Beer 101. You can come and look at the beautiful art that was created this past Saturday and bid on some of it. It's a great opportunity to get something really beautiful for your home. And I want to remind you also of some Memorial Day things that are getting ready to happen here in Wendell. On Sunday, May 27th, the American Legion is hosting a Memorial Day service at their post on 5100 Wendell Boulevard. And they have a lovely service. I've been a couple years in a row now, and they have hot dogs and chips and so forth. And a quick reminder, housekeeping issue, Memorial Day this year, as always, lands on Monday, May 28th, which is the day we leave trash and recycling at the curb. So that's going to be picked up on Tuesday now instead of Monday, so don't forget that. And one more thing, we have a special called town board meeting on Wednesday, May 30th at 5:30 to discuss town manager recruitment. All right, I think that's everything. We've had a long meeting tonight. Thank y'all for hanging in there with us. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor? We're adjourned.